Oh, hey! I gotta forgive.
Dun, dun. Guys, the Dune episode.
Ethan's taken the spice, and now his whole life is clearer. He's seen so far ahead.
God, oh man, Dune 2, it came out.
Dune, as we like to call it in the biz.
Dune.
Dune.
Listen, guys, this is our podcast, okay? I texted Sean earlier, and I was like, "Do you think people will be mad if we talk about Dune 2 on the podcast?"
And I was like, I wrote back, no, haha, why?
And I want to talk about this movie so bad. So if you haven't seen it and you care about spoilers, sorry.
This episode doesn't come out till like the 12th. It's like a whole week from this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
If you haven't seen Dune 2 yet, go watch it. If you haven't seen the first one, go watch that first and then watch Dune 2. If you haven't read the book and you're really curious about that, I'd also recommend going to watch that because I'm going to spoil the shit out of all three.
So, before we start, I have a question because why don't I have you full screen on Discord? Dune Part 1 and Part 2, does it fully encapsulate the first book?
Yeah. It changes some things towards the end. And throughout, and obviously a lot of stuff is missing, but in regards to what the first book covers, it starts where the movie starts and it ends where the movie ends. The second movie ends.
Because I'm curious, because there's like 6 Dune books or something?
Yeah, I think 2 of them are offshoots or prequels, and then there's Dune Messiah, there's Children of Dune, and then there's God Emperor of Dune. And I think those are the 4 that if you read those, you'll probably have a very good understanding of the universe. I've only read the first 2. I've read Dune and Dune Messiah.
Oh, does Dune Messiah after, maybe you don't know the answer to this because you haven't read the other ones, but does Dune Messiah end Paul Atreides' story?
Yeah. Dune Messiah takes place 12 years after the first book, and then the next books it goes like off the deep end. They get real weird.
So Denis Villeneuve will probably do just the 3 then. Yeah,
when he made Dune Part 1, he said he wanted to do as far as Messiah. That was his goal. And tell Paul and Chani's story. Yeah. And then, I don't think it's been greenlit officially yet. It might be by the time this episode comes out, but I think it's pretty much a certainty that it is being made. I think him and Hans Zimmer have talked about like early drafts of it. But that doesn't always mean it's going to get made. But it's doing numbers. So, of course, they're going to let him do what he wants.
Hans Zimmer is really knocked it out of the park every time he does anything.
I'm curious because you seem to have I think as my stuff has been like muted, I thought it was incredible. But I think it's been muted because I knew what the story was going to be. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious what the key takeaway from you is. Like, what is the thing that's making you go, whoa?
So, right out of the gate, and so many people are saying this, and I agree because it's true. It's just like, goddamn, dude, this is what fucking Hollywood blockbusters should be. It's just like giant, crazy set pieces. It's beautifully shot. Yeah. There's so much cool action. Obviously, the soundtrack by Hans Zimmer is fucking incredible.
Yeah, top-notch stuff.
The cast is stacked.
I thought you were going to say staggering.
The cast is staggering. There's just, I don't know. It just, the whole thing blew me away. I went and saw it in Dolby Atmos, so I could feel every sound in my butthole. It was awesome.
I am sad because I've still never seen an Atmos movie in an Atmos theater. And that pisses me off. I'm thinking about going up to London just to watch this one in an Atmos theater. But, I mean, I'm sure it's highly curated, but I think the one they have in, like, Leicester Square is less... It's not like a box. It's like an old theater. Like an old, like, vaudeville theater kind of thing, like you would do a theater show in, and it's converted. So I don't know if it's... I'm sure it sounds great, But I'm like, it's not like the perfectly like reference room, like big square box where everything is perfectly paneled and aligned and everything. So I'm curious what it would be like.
It's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
And do they do the thing at the start where it's like, this is Dolby Atmos, and then it goes like, this is what you think black is. This is black. Boom! And you're like, whoa! I've been seeing gray this whole time!
What the fuck? Yeah, they do that. It's
do they do
awesome.
the helicopter thing where it's like 3D surround? I was like, the helicopter goes around and...
No, it's not a helicopter. They talk about the sound, and then they're like 3D sound, and then it's like... whoosh.
Yeah, and then it's like, doom,
but
doom,
but not
doom,
helicopter.
doom, 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 doom. But it turns into a helicopter eventually, and then as a kid going like, whoa, what is this place? And then you hear a door opening, and it's like, they're here.
What?
That's an Atmos demo that I've played a whole bunch of times in my room, and I'm like, this is so cringe.
Talking about?
There's a Dolby Atmos demo where they do that. Look it up, people.
I'm sure you're correct. But no, that's
Next
not
time you're
what
here, I'm going to show
happened.
it to you, and I'm going to reenact all of it. I'm not going to let the sound go around the room. I'm just going to go
around my head.
Yeah, I wish I had a binaural microphone for this episode just so I could do that.
Man. We should do a horrible episode, maybe for April Fool's Day, where we both use those ASMR microphones.
Oh, ugh, gross.
Anyway, but yeah,
I think, as cliche as it is to say, because it's been thrown around so many times, I do think that's the reason you go to a theater. That and like Godzilla -1, because they had the bass shakers, and I'm like, yeah, this is the shit a theater should be. Not stuff that you can just do at home, but bigger and louder.
Yeah.
Because I'm like an advocate for like amazing sound, and surround sound is so cool. But I'm also like, most theaters don't have it perfectly tuned. And also I'm like, I don't think for the price that you're getting, like surround sound, I'd say bass is really important, but like the surround sound in theaters is like, I don't think the prices at a theater are really worth that. Sometimes it's like, it's not even used that well.
Yeah. I was reading some stuff about Dune 2, and I guess Denis Villeneuve made Villeneuve?
Yeah.
Whoops.
God.
Villeneuve.
Can't bring you to his house
guys.
now.
I know.
I guess he calls himself a Dunter.
A Dunter. He had made a deal with, who's it, Warner Brothers? Who did it? Is it Warner Brothers? Yeah.
Yeah, Warner Brothers isn't Legendary.
Because the first Dune came out on HBO Max at the same time as it came out in theaters, and he was like, okay, now that you guys have greenlit Dune 2, the Dunening, I want a guarantee that it's going to be out for at least 45 days only in theaters before it goes to streaming. And I think that like a movie like Dune, like you have to do it justice and see it in the theater. Like that is where it's meant to be seen. You saw it in IMAX, yeah?
Yeah.
Was there different? Because I remember in the first one, I think I saw it in IMAX, and there were some scenes like on Arrakis. Almost all of the stuff was the full like IMAX aspect ratio.
Yeah, I think for this one, every single shot is IMAX ratio.
Oh, I need to go see it in IMAX.
I think you should. Well, to the point where normally I can tell, but either there was very little of them or none.
They're doing the 70 mil IMAX screening at City Walk.
It's a bit of a cop out though, because it's not 70 mil. It's not filmed. Yeah. It's not on film. It's just 6.5K, I think. Or maybe that's the first one and then upscaled. But which I also think, I'm like, I get it. Like as a film elitist, and you're like, oh, 70 mil, like Oppenheimer, like you see the blemishes, you see it, like it feels organic and all that. But I'm also like, I don't really care. As someone who loves movies and everything, and maybe this is blasphemous to say it, but I also think like, if it looks good, it looks good. Like there's all these movies that are too digital looking, and this was all shot digitally. I'm like, it still looks amazing because they're good at their set design and costumes and dirtying the lens and things like that.
Yeah, if it's not shot on film, I guess it doesn't necessarily make sense to see it on film.
Yeah, I would still go see it though. Like if it's there,
I want to
why
see it
not?
in IMAX for sure.
Yeah. I do think IMAX is still far too loud, but for a movie like that, I feel it's still fun. Because you want to go to IMAX and you want to have like that seat where it's like you're not so close that it's annoying to look at, but you're close enough that it feels like you're going to like fall.
Yeah.
And then I remember we went to see Ad Astra, me and Evelyn, when we were in LA one time at City Walk. And City Walk IMAX, from what I remember, maybe it's Limax and it's not even the real one, but they had like a metal bar and it kind of, the screen kind of like went below the seats.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting close enough that when the space scenes happened, like as someone with a fear of heights, I legitimately like clenched my seat and sat back because I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm going to fall. I'm like, that's what a movie should be. That shit's cool.
It's pretty sweet. It's fun.
And I want to say that so many people are watching Dune and they're like, they can see that the movie looks good, it's acted good, has a cool story, cool set pieces, Arrakis looks amazing. But I want to let people know that the reason that you're so immersed in this world and you're so into it and think it's amazing, and maybe there's a thing you can't put your finger on, is probably the sound design. Because every single thing in that movie sounds incredible. Every like little belt buckle, every sand squish, and every like fucking sandworm and everything like shakes the whole room. It's so atmospheric. The fucking sound design team, it's like everyone working at every like cylinder, costuming, actors, director, cinematographer. Oh, what's his name? Craig Fraser? Fucking lunatic.
It's
everyone at the top of their craft.
This movie was a fucking well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
Right? A well-spiced machine.
And I think it's crazy that you can get something like Dune and get a casual mass audience into a theater to watch a hardcore sci-fi movie. To get people to go watch Dune, of all things, where people are notorious for like reading the first page and being like, no, it's too much. And it's been called unfilmable for years. And then Denis was like, oh, oui.
Let me take a crack at this.
Let me jouer a little bit. Incredible.
Brain leak.
Nowadays, it is so hard to find a doctor. Whether you've got a problem that just arose or you have something that's been around for a while and you need it to get checked out, sometimes it takes weeks, months, even like a year to get a doctor. Well, thanks to ZocDoc, that is no more. ZocDoc can connect you to tens of thousands of doctors online to get you the help that you need and get it quick. They all have verified patient reviews so you can make sure the vibes are good before you meet in real life. And with ZocDoc, you've got more options than you know. All you got to do is go on their website or download their free app. Once you find the doctor that fits your needs, you can book them immediately. No more waiting awkwardly on a phone call with a receptionist. And they make it super easy too. You can filter specifically for the ones who take your insurance or are located near you or are treating a specific condition that you're looking for. Instead of normal doctors who takes weeks, sometimes months to book an appointment, the typical wait time to see a doctor with ZocDoc is just 24 to 72 hours. That is incredible. Sometimes you could even score same-day appointments. So if you're ready to better your health in a better amount of time, you can go to ZocDoc.com/brainleak. That's ZocDoc.com/brainleak. Download the app for free and book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc, baby!
Brain leak.
The sound design in Dolby Atmos was fucking awesome. It is like the most minuscule of details is like so fleshed out. The sound design in Dolby Atmos was fucking awesome. It is like the most minuscule of details is like so fleshed out. It's so fucking cool.
When you hear the voice, more so in the first movie because there's less of it in this one, but in the first movie you hear the voice and you hear it coming from like a different speaker, like there's multiple voices all around you and you're like,
you can like
the Bene Gesserit
you can like
are
feel
here.
it in your chest.
Yeah.
It's so awesome.
It's like, do it. And I was like, I don't know what it is, but okay. I want to give you the information. I just don't know what it is.
I can't remember what her name is, the actress that plays Jessica.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Yes, she's so good. She freaks me out in this movie.
Yeah.
The whole time I'm like, you make me feel uncomfortable.
So, as someone who's read the book and then watched the movies, because Jessica was my favorite character in the book, and then in the first movie I was like, you kind of like ruined her a little bit. Well, ruined is too harsh a word, but that whole thing about like, I must not fear. In the first movie, she's like, I must not fear. And she's like crying to herself. And I'm like, the Bene Gesserit is supposed to have like full control over every emotion, muscle, everything in their bodies. They have control over their womb muscles that they make women.
Yeah.
Like they're not supposed to, like Jessica made Paul on purpose to be a boy. Because normally they're like, they're doing like fucking Rubik's Cubes in their vaginas. Like
with Oscar Isaac, right?
Yeah.
She was like, I know he wants a son.
Yeah, so she gave him a son in defiance. So in the second movie, her character is completely different than the book, and I'm getting to that point now where I don't normally read books and watch movies. This is like the first time I've ever read a book and watched like 2 movies of it. So I'm like trying to separate, and I'm like, they're just different. They don't need to be the same. So her character, because in the book she's not the one. She's the one who's scared of Paul, and she's like, I don't want you to become this thing. It's bad for you. Don't become evil. But they gave that to Chani instead to give her more of a character, which I really like. And Jessica being like this sort of witch just staring people down. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I'm fine with that change.
Wait, so in the book, it's not Jessica that's like kind of egging him on?
No, because it's much more like he doesn't want to do any of that stuff, but destiny and fate and it's Dune is a lot about like people falling into their fate, even when they know what's coming. Because his dad is like, I didn't want to become Duke either, and I didn't want to do this, that, and the other. And it's been a while since I've read it, so maybe I'm wrong, but it's a lot of like men being controlled by other forces. Like the Bene Gesserit control everything, and they're controlling the Emperor and the Harkonnens and everything. So it's like men stumbling into their fate and then kind of getting like wrapped up in the spice and the tide. So she doesn't want him to become that because she's kind of afraid of him. And God, there's a whole thing in the book that like the baby she has is born in the book, but she's like a Renesmee baby, like in Twilight. So she's born, but she has all of the powers that Jessica has. So she's like a Reverend Mother baby. So she's literally a baby, and she's able to like talk and like control people with the voice and do all this weird shit.
Ew.
And for a while, everyone was like, "How are they going to do that in the movie?" And then they just didn't.
How they did it.
Yeah, I think it's a good change.
And I thought the shots of the baby in the womb were so cool.
Yeah, it's like the Space Odyssey baby. Until they just showed it was Anya Taylor-Joy, and then it's like, oh.
I did think that she was going to play more of a role in the movie than she did. She was basically there for one tiny scene.
She plays a massive role in the book, but she'll be a bigger role in the next movie.
Yeah.
Because in the book, she's the one that kills the Baron. She's the one that kills the Baron Harkonnen. She really? Kills him with the gum jabbar, I think, the needle at the neck. And she shows up, and they're all kind of like, what the
She's
fuck are
just
you?
a baby with it in her fist walking in.
And everyone's like, what the fuck is this weird abomination creature? And then, because Paul and Chani in the book have a baby and name him Leto, and then he gets killed, and then Aaliyah gets captured, and then she's like, captured me, have you? I hold at your neck the gum jabbar.
What the fuck?
I think, again, it's been right before the first movie is when I read the book, so I need to brush up on it. It does make me want to read the book again.
So, I liked Dune 2.
Dune.
So much.
You just got to call it Dune.
I like Dune so much that today I bought the audiobook and I bought the physical book.
Wow.
I'm going to try. I think that because my attention span it's really hard for me to read.
Yeah.
I think if I play the audiobook and read it at the same time, I'll be able to do it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good solution, I think.
So maybe
I should be spoiling the book then.
No, I mean this. You said it already that the movie, the 2 movies are basically just the first book anyway.
Yeah, but I'm also spoiling stuff from the book. But
I didn't know you were going to remember.
I didn't think you were going to read it, so I'll stop spoiling book stuff.
I'm not going to remember. But yeah, dude, it is.
Just know that the book, for a lot of people, I didn't feel it because whatever way he writes, or maybe it's just those types of worlds that I'm really into science fiction and fantasy when I'm learning the world. And I think that stuff's cool. So all the weird terminologies and all the players, I eat that shit up. But people always say the first 100 pages are the most difficult, and after that, page 100 is when like stuff in the movie happens where they're in like the ornithopter and they see the spice harvester and everything. Mm-hmm. So it gets a bit easier to read after the first 100 pages for people.
Yeah. What's the name of the it's like the perfect human or whatever?
The Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah. There's so
Muad'Dib.
many cool names, but there's so much shit to keep track of.
Well, it's more difficult because the Bene Gesserit call it the Kwisatz Haderach, and then the Fremen call it Lisan al-Gaib, and then he goes by Muad'Dib, and then Mahdi is also the word for him. So it's like all these different terms that all technically just mean Paul.
Mm-hmm. Paul, hey, you.
Yeah, people are like, thank God his name was Paul, because I wouldn't have been able to keep up with anything.
Yeah. It is so funny that they have all of this terminology and all of these like crazy names and stuff, and then his name is Paul, and then Duncan, Idaho.
And Gurney Halleck. Gurney Halleck
So
sounds at
funny.
least a bit science fiction-y, but Duncan, Idaho, as a book lover, I fucking hate that name. I think it's so stupid.
It's so dumb.
Thufir Hawat, Duke Leto Atreides, Gurney Halleck, and Duncan, Idaho.
Duncan, Idaho.
You expect them to show up and be like, hey guys, are we going to kill some Harkonnens?
Whoa. What was your favorite actually, I don't want to ask you that question yet. I want to ask you what your favorite performance was in the film.
Well, I'm partial to Stilgar's Javier Bardem's because I love every time he went. He's too humble to call himself the Mahdi. He is him. Don't worry, guys. And then he kills someone. He just goes, Lisan al-Gaib. And the whole theater laughed.
Yeah,
So-
everyone in my theater laughed as well.
Because Stilgar in the book is like way more like furrowed brow, like serious. So I kind of like that he was a bit. Like, it's fine to have a little comic relief in the movie. Like, it's good to translate it to a different media. I think I wasn't too convinced with Timmy Shimmy in the first movie. Because Paul Atreides is like a subdued character anyway. He's supposed to have his emotions in check. And I think he's a really good choice for it. But you didn't get to see him do much in the first movie.
Yeah.
But this one, he definitely like that scene of him like speaking to the Fremen in that court was really cool. And you can always tell when actors kind of like phone it in and they're like, well, I didn't really learn like the other language that much. It sounds like I learned it phonetically instead of learning it. And it really sounded like he was serious about it. So I think he's pretty good, but I think Rebecca Ferguson is just the best out of both movies. Also, Austin Butler.
Austin Butler did a good job. I liked his. Do you think he'll talk like that for the rest of his life now?
Hey, Daddy, I'm going to kill the Muad'Dib. Stand back, pretty mama.
I thought he did a good job. I also thought that he looked so much like Bill Skarsgård in his makeup.
Yeah, well, we went to see it with another friend who I don't think you've met, but she thought Bill Skarsgård and Austin Butler were the same person. And I didn't make that connection until like she brought up a picture of him to be like, that's the same guy to me. And I was looking at it and I was like, they do look shockingly alike.
They do.
They both have like
especially in this
long,
makeup.
like etched faces.
Mm-hmm. They both have those cheeks that are
The
very,
buccal fat
yeah.
plastic surgery face. Just natural.
Yeah, I liked Austin Butler more than I thought I was going to, because for some reason he's just one of those actors where I'm like,
I think
You're
the
really
internet does him a disservice because I think he's getting that like fervor around him, like young people just really like him because they want to be him. They think he's attractive. They are into the movies he's in. He's like a heartthrob, which he is. Man's fucking gorgeous. But I like that he's showing his versatility as an actor. Like he went from smaller roles. He was like Tex in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like the cowboy on the horse who gets a. Now he doesn't get the can thrown at his face at the end of it, but he gets bitten by the dog or something. But I think he was cool in that. And then Elvis, I'm like, it's kind of similar because you're doing the same kind of accent and stuff. And he was amazing as Elvis in all the clips I've seen. But now I'm glad he's doing the thing where it's like, now I'm just doing weird shit. I'm like, I like when actors do that, where they're like, I'm the young teen heartthrob. I can do whatever I want, pretty mama.
The only performance that I think I was like, was Christopher Walken
Yeah.
I cannot see him play a character and not see just him. And I'm like, I wish that you would just change your voice a little bit, because your voice is, your normal accent is so weird. Where I'm like, just try and speak differently.
Yeah, because I saw they cast him and I was like, Florence Pugh as Princess Irulan. I'm like, yeah, I can see that. And she's a great actress. So I was like excited to see that. And then they said Christopher Walken and I was like, this is going to be weird. Because I was like, that is not what I think the Emperor looks like or would act like. So I was like, this is cool. They got someone like that to do a weird role. And I was waiting for that weirdness. And then it was like, it just kind of felt like he phoned it in. Like he didn't really have much to do. He was barely in the movie. Mm-hmm. So I agree on that. They picked a great actor and didn't utilize him well enough. I feel like you could have got a different actor for that role and just had him, I don't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't feel emperor-y to me.
I love Josh Brolin as well.
Yeah.
I think he did like a really, really good job.
He got to play his balisad. He got to play his little guitar. He plays that so much in the book. And now I'm like, yes, you did it. Lisa Nogheim.
He had his little song.
Yeah, he's a terrible singer.
In it. I love the fight scene near the end of the movie with Austin Butler. What's his character's name again? I can't remember.
Fade Routha.
Yeah, it was so cool, and I was the whole time leading up to it, I was like, cut the music, do it. And then they cut the music, and I was like, yes, just silence for this whole fight. It's fucking sick.
I like,
so cool.
because when he spoke initially, I was like, what are we doing? I was like, is that Elvis? Because everyone's expecting to hear Elvis out of him now because he was memed to death for it. But then once he started talking, I was like, man, you really nailed Stellan Skarsgård's like Baron voice.
Yeah.
And like, you really feel like you're related to him in the movie.
Yeah. No, I felt the same way. I was very impressed by him.
Yeah.
Very, very impressed.
They also get to do the fun stuff. They get to be like the evil, like Baron Harkonnen going into his balsamic vinegar. He's just like, yeah, kill them all.
The shots of him floating all naked are so funny. They're so funny.
Yeah, because I had friends ask me, like, why is he floating? Why is he so tall? I'm like, no, he's just so... In the books, he's supposed to be so fat that he can't walk. Mm-hmm. Like, he's incapable of doing it. But in this one, it made it seem like... In the first movie, he was able to, like, float around in it, but it felt like he could walk if he wanted to. He was just too lazy. But then he got, like, poisoned in the first movie. So I kind of like that they ran with that now he needs the machinery to keep him alive. Yeah. Like, he was using it for comfort, and now it's like, no, now you need it, because once it was cut off, he could barely breathe anymore. Like, that's a cool addition to that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And again, I haven't read the book yet, and hopefully I actually do. But I really love...
Just don't be too hard on yourself if it's hard to get through, or it takes you a while, because...
Yeah.
It's a lot of people get turned off by reading because they're like, oh, I should be faster, or I'm not taking anything in. I think it's fine.
Mm-hmm. I really like the turn that Paul takes once he drinks the water of life. Mm-hmm. Once he like sees everything, and he just goes like very much like Anakin in Revenge of the Sith.
That is like, a good point to bring up, because now people who have seen both Dune movies see why Dune inspired Star Wars.
Yeah. So
George Lucas read Dune and then was like, that's cool, I can do that. Especially the prequel stuff. It's like, well, I guess the first shot is like on Tatooine, which is Arrakis.
Yeah.
And the whole stuff with like an evil emperor trying to kill the bloodline.
It's very similar.
Yeah, it's like people living up to like their dad's expectations kind of stuff. It's not the same like his dad being the ultimate bad kind of stuff like it is in Star Wars, but it's so much like you read that and then it's like you play Dark Souls and Elden Ring and then you go back and read Berserk, you're like, oh man, I thought this really cool thing that I liked was like so unique.
And then like the twist of, you know, it's like Darth Vader is Luke's father, and then it's just like, oh, you're a Harkonnen. Yeah,
which I want to talk about as well, because that in the book happens at the end of like the first act. So in the first movie, when the dad dies and then they get kicked out of the helicopter and they're sitting in the tent together, and he's like, you made me a freak. That's when he finds out that they're Harkonnens, because he has like prescience. So I was like, oh, you didn't give that, because the whole point of Paul is that the mother reverend is like, oh, you have two birthrights. You're an Atreides and you're a Bene Gesserit, so you're pretty powerful. And we're not going to give men this power because they can't control themselves. And we want it for the women only. And women are stronger than men. And the book does a really good job of showing that.
So is he the only male Bene Gesserit?
As far as I'm aware, there might have been like some in the past, but none as powerful as he is, because he's being trained by Jessica, who's one of the strongest Bene Gesserit. He's being trained by Gurney Halleck and Duncan Idaho, who are the best fighters in the galaxy, and his dad is one of the more revered and respected men in the galaxy. So it's like you have two birthrights, and then you find out he's a Harkonnen at the end of chapter 1, or book 1 as they call it. So then it's like, no, you have 3 birthrights, so you're also a Harkonnen, which makes you very powerful. So that's why him becoming the Kwisatz Haderach is like, oh shit, you have like all of these bloodlines converging into this one perfect singularity to make you explode back out the other side with all this knowledge. So when he becomes prescient or like omnipotent, he gets like all the memories of all the Bene Gesserit, like the Avatar. And then he's like, oh, I know all about my Atreides family and the Harkonnens and everything. Like he just gets so much information at once that it's not even so much that I like that in the book. It's like you don't even know if he's seeing the future or he's just, his mind is opened up so much that he sees every eventuality. So it's like, if I say this to this person, it's going to lead to this, 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 and this, or that, that, and that. So he just like works out every eventuality like a search engine almost. So it's kind of cool.
It's so cool.
I hope you like it. I hope you're able to stick with it, because I couldn't put it down when I read it. I read the whole thing in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm very excited to start it. I have a flight tomorrow, so I'm like, okay, I'll probably just do that the whole flight.
What helped me read as well and get back into it was because I listened to Dune Messiah. I didn't read it personally, but I was making Lego at the same time of doing it. So I think if you have something to occupy your hands, like painting or Lego or anything like that, even color by numbers or something, it's really good to like absorb that information.
Yeah, I'm excited. I would like to read a book again. It would be fun. It would be cool.
I just finished a like 1,100 page Brandon Sanderson book, and I'm 25% into the next one, which is even longer.
God, Jesus Christ.
My e-reader is incredible, because I was like trying to play games and I was like, I want like a specific like JRPG world and like a feeling and a vibe, and everything I was trying out wasn't like filling that gap. And I was like, I want something like Final Fantasy 9 again. I couldn't really find something that filled that void. And not that Way of Kings is like that, but I started reading that and I was like, this is what I want, like this world building, and like Dune, where I'm along for the ride. Teach me all of your magic and your systems, and it's fun.
I want to talk real quick about in Dune, because I was watching a bunch of like B-roll from the first movie, so I would imagine this would translate to part 2 as well. I don't know why they would do it any differently, but so many of the set pieces were practical. Like they didn't use a lot of green screen at all.
Wow.
I think that's so fucking cool. And I don't know, what was the planet where they had like the battle where it's all in black and white?
Giedi Prime.
I don't know how much of that was CG versus practical. I imagine a lot of it was CG because it's massive.
Yeah.
But I love looking up like how they filmed all of that stuff. They did it all in infrared, which is
cool.
So cool. So like they were talking about doing it in black and white because they wanted it to be in black and white, but then what's the dude's name? Craig
Fraser?
Craig Fraser, yeah. He was like, we should do it in infrared because it almost makes the skin like translucent, because if it's just black and white, it's just gonna look black and white. But infrared, you can like see the veins better. And
yeah,
it
I
just,
guess
like, has
black and white would kind of like bloom a bit more, maybe.
Yeah.
And like
So
shine.
it's really cool that they don't just go the easiest route. It's like, okay, what's actually gonna make this look the best?
Yeah,
and,
'cause
like the most sci-fi.
It did look black and white, but your brain knows what black and white looks like, so it's like it almost looks inverted. Like it was weird for your brain to kind of like figure out what was going on.
Yeah, it doesn't look natural at all.
Yeah. And I think that's what that shit should do. Because when you read stuff in the book, and I can't remember what Giedi Prime looks like in the book, but it's like, yeah, that's cool. And like the sandworm stuff at the end was like nuts. And it's cool to read all that shit. But when you're like, even the sandworm riding part, like even knowing what's coming, I'm like, this is so cool to finally see with like expert music, cinematography, sound effects, the way everything was filmed. It's like, it makes you like feel like the whole place is shaking and you're like on that worm with them.
I have a question about the worm riding.
Sure.
How do they get off?
I don't, you don't need to know that.
How do they get off? And also, how'd they
get everyone else on?
How did they get everyone else on? And how are they steering it? I know they got the little things, but are you really steering the whole big worm?
Well, yeah, the whole point is that you pull up a scale and then the sand gets inside the worm's like breathy holes. So that's why they kept showing that. And the worms hate having sand in under their scales, so they stay at the top to try and get rid of it. So if you just lower one flap and raise the other one, the worm will like a horse. It's explained in the book. Just give it a little old glance there.
I just don't know how to get off of that thing. Did they just have to jump off, but then they hear the footprints landed on the thing?
I would like to think that they release the hooks forward, let the things go down slowly, the worm slowly goes down, and then they pull them off, and then they just like roll into the sand. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Because people were also like, if you need spice to go through space-time, how did they ever get the spice to do it the first time?
Yeah.
And then they were like, checkmate, atheists. But
How do they do that?
There's a thing in Dune that, like, the preamble to it is that it's based on Earth. Like, it's not a different universe. It's just thousands of years after us. Even in the book, Dr. Yue gives Paul a Catholic Bible, and it's like, he's worried he's going to go to hell. So it's based on like what we're going through now with AI and everything, and AI rose and computers were so powerful that shit started to happen. And then there was an armistice where they were like, we're never using computers to do that again. Kind of like a ceasefire on nukes in real life. And they're like, we're not doing that again. Warfare can't be fought with machines. So that's why they take the spice and turn humans into machines. So the mentats like roll their eyes into the back of their head and they're like supercomputers. And the space navigators, the Space Guild flight navigators, who like, they take so much spice that they can see forward through the stars. Like they're so smart, they can plan courses. But they're all fucked up. They never show them in the movie, but they're all like fucked up like fetus baby weirdo creatures in vats. It's really cool sounding.
I wonder how they do. I would love to just see so much behind the scenes stuff. I want to buy it on Blu-ray now because a lot of times they have more special features.
I'm sad that I'm sad and I'm not, because Denise said he's not doing extended cuts of the movies. And I'm like, in one way I get that. Like, this is your artistic vision, this is what you had on paper, this is what you deemed good enough to make it to the theater, and all the extra stuff you felt you could have cut that it didn't add anything. But at the same time, I'm like, this is sci-fi and it's a big universe like Lord of the Rings, where I'm like, these are the movies that benefit from the extended cuts.
Yeah.
And there's like Thufir Hawat just disappears in the story in part 2. You'll go back and watch part 1 and you're like, what had happened to him? There's a whole plot line with him cut. And like Count Fenring, apparently the actor for that was gutted that he was cut from the movie because they filmed all his scenes.
Who is that?
He wasn't in the movie. They just cut him completely, and they never even mention him. He's like, I think he's the husband of Leah Seydoux' character, the lady who has sex with Fade Routha.
Oh, okay.
Which their shit was cool. That fucking long hallway. Yeah. Looked like a comic book.
I also love that he's like, I'm not familiar with this place, and she's like, it's the guest wing.
Yeah, and he's like,
that's really cool.
Oh, that makes sense, actually. I usually turn around by here. I usually get my 1K steps and go back. Yeah, I like Fade Routha in that. He plays a smaller role, so it's like, it's hard to remember exactly what he was in the book. But I like that when he killed the Atreides guy in the Colosseum, he said, like, you fought well. Like, he actually respects him despite wanting to rip his head off and eat him. And then with Paul, he's like, may your knife chip and shatter. And he was like, I like that. May your knife chip and shatter. Like, he has, like, a bit of respect for, like, at least the barbarism. Mm-hmm. I like that. It's like little tiny details that's like, oh, your character's a bit more interesting than people think he is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he also looks like my character Bonk that I've been making in Dark Souls, who's just bald with a large head. Bald.
weird ass eyebrows.
Yeah, I want to see Bong. I want to see him in that makeup. I hope, because he still has that Elvis in him. He's still got that dog in him. I hope I hope Zendaya or somebody was like, dude, can you do a bit of Elvis in the Fade Ralph the makeup and then just film them on her phone? Have you seen the TikTok of the three of them? Where it's like they're doing a promo and Zendaya's on the phone and she's like selfieing it. And it's like, we want you guys to go check out Dune. So what did they search? And it's like, Timmy, and it's like, search Dune on TikTok. And then it goes to Austin Butler. He's like, search Dune on TikTok. And now everyone's like stitching it together. It's like, search Dune on TikTok. I give him slack for that because none of us know what it's like to go full method to like really live a character where you become it. I already lost my accent talking to too many of you Americans all the time. And then going to England where I'm not around Irish people anymore, my accent just turned into this. I can't imagine what it's like becoming a character.
Yeah, I'm already too much of a mannerism sponge as it is, so like just becoming a different person for a year or however long it took for them to shoot that thing, it's like, I kind of get it a little bit.
Yeah, because I feel like I would do the same thing if, well, I don't know if I would ever method act anything, but I feel like if you or I were ever to get into that mentality where it's like, I need to be this person all the time for like 8 months. And then, of course, you're going to become that. Yeah. People give him too much shit.
At least a little smidge of it.
I would love to see you come live here for a year.
God, dude, it would be fucked.
You'd be like Madonna afterwards, where you're like, I've just come from England. I picked up a little bit of the accent.
Brittany Broski made a TikTok the other day that I really felt so hard. She was just lying in bed and she was just like, do you guys ever feel like, maybe you're meant to be somewhere else? Maybe somewhere else is calling you. I just feel like I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be over there.
It does feel like you're supposed to be serving pints in a pub in Yorkshire.
Yeah. Yeah, if I came and lived in the UK for a year, I think my accent would change heavily. And I think that people would really make fun of me. And I just go, it's not my fault.
It's not my fault, it's the way I'm raised, bruv.
It's not my fault, bruv.
It's all your fault. You start talking like a bloodborne character. You plague-ridden rat.
Cursed beast.
That's up next on my chopping block. Dark Souls 3 is done.
Dark Souls 3 is all done? Wait, so you're going to do
Bloodborne A is
next?
Yep.
You're going to do Bloodborne and not Dark Souls 2 next?
Dark Souls 2 I'm doing at the end, because I don't like that game. But I don't want to just record it and be like, see, I told you guys, this game sucks. Or crossing every corner and getting killed. And then being like, yeah, this fucking game sucks. It feels like ass. It's just not fun to watch that.
To give people a little bit of the behind the scenes. People love the behind the scenes. Speaking of behind the scenes, I did just order Josh Brolin, I guess is a very skilled photographer. He made a Dune photography book where he just took a ton of like beautiful photos on set.
That's cool.
So I ordered that. I love looking.
I want to see that
behind the scenes stuff. Anyway, to give people a little bit of behind the scenes, how long does it take for you to make these all in one?
Oh baby,
Soulsborne videos.
About a week.
About a week.
Because
like 2 hours a day, 4 hours a day.
Yeah, I record like 2 hours a day, and then Dark Souls 1 was quicker. Dark Souls 2 took 9 hours and 48 minutes to beat on the save file. Or Dark Souls 3.
3.
So I'm able to plow through those pretty quick.
Hour and a half.
I think I could get Bloodborne to 6 hours if I really wanted to.
Have you ever played Bloodborne in your cinema room?
Yeah, but it's on a projector and the lag is just unbearable. But yeah, it takes about a week recording like 2 hours a day, and then the editors edit like each part as they get them. But that's another reason to put off Dark Souls 2, because I don't know the game well enough and I don't know the lore, and I'm just going to get annoyed. So I want to put some like hours in to practice it, because it's I've played them all already anyway, so it's not like I'm going in blind to any of them. So practicing it doesn't make any difference. So I want to get better at it so I can like whittle it down so it's not like the last playthrough I did where I didn't even do everything was 26 hours. So I'm like, I can't have a video that's 20 hours long go up. I could, but I don't want to. So I'm like, I need to condense this stuff a bit down.
I have a question about your Bloodborne playthrough, and I can't remember because I was thinking about this the other day. I can't remember if I've actually asked you this question. Are you gonna do every single boss because you've already done a Bloodborne playthrough? Are you gonna go through and do Bloodborne in one video, but do like, okay, I'm gonna beat every single boss?
Yeah, I mean, I did that for Dark Souls 1 and 3 already. Well, Dark Souls 1, I skipped one boss, Gwendolyn. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't realize I only skipped one. I would have gone and done it if I realized it was just him.
But in your first Bloodborne playthrough, you skipped a boss, didn't you? Or a few? A couple? I don't remember.
I think I skipped
No idea.
one. I think I skipped Lawrence, the guy on fire. But I can't remember.
That guy on file.
Yeah, I'll do them all. The only thing I won't do is Demon of Hatred from Sekiro, because that boss just sucks. I don't enjoy that boss fight. It's like a Dark Souls boss in a game that has no Dark Souls combat. He has like 3 health bars. All his attacks are bullshit. It's just really annoying to fight. And I'm not... Like, some people play these games and are like, I'm going to prove myself. And I'm like, I don't really have anything to prove. I'm just going to play it and have fun. And that's what the series are supposed to be about. It's not about like being the best. It's just to be like, I love these games. I want to play them. And that's it.
Yeah. That's going to be so fun. You're going to have all the Soulsborne series all in one big ass thing.
And then when Dark Souls is done, 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to combine them all into one big video and call it Dark Souls the movie. And I'm just going to upload that on my channel. And it's going to be massive.
28 hours long or whatever.
Yeah, probably, yeah. We'll see what happens. I'm also like, how far can we push the boat out on content on YouTube where people are like, I'm going to do this for 10 hours, but it's like, I'm just counting to 1,000 or something like that. Where it's like, you're doing really long videos, but it's not substance.
Yeah.
And I'm like, gaming is perfect for that. You're able to do massive long things, but actually have it be something. I saw today, somebody uploaded, I can't remember his name now. It's Smo something on YouTube. He just search up like the entire lore of Elden Ring part 1 is 13 and a half hours.
Oh,
and he goes so in depth to be like, this building is inspired by like medieval culture or like French burlesque
How many parts
clubs.
are there?
I don't know.
Are you going to do Elden Ring?
Yep.
Or is that going to be a part of the thing?
I want to do Elden Ring before the DLC comes out in June. So I might have to do Bloodborne and then Elden Ring instead of Bloodborne, Sekiro, Elden Ring, because I want like one a month. So Bloodborne's March, and then Elden Ring is April, and then the DLC comes out in June. And I want to hit that running, boy.
Well, Sean, maybe I can help you out with your Elden Ring DLC video, because you're gonna want to experience it, especially for the first time, in the most captivating way possible, right? You're really going to want to dive in.
Now I know where this is going.
Head first into the game. Be fully immersed.
Pull it out, baby.
I got it in the mail. The game sent. I haven't used it yet. I haven't gotten all my scents yet. But boy, oh boy, let me do a little unboxing for you. In the box right here, we've got our game scent, and we've got the vials. Hold on, let me take these out.
Are you able to like open a vial and sniff it? Like, have you been able to smell anything from it yet?
Here's clean air.
Why would you start with clean air? I guess you need a control sample.
Clean air scent. This is what it looks like.
That looks like insulin. It looks like you're about to like stick a syringe in that.
It smells like clean air. All right, let me.
Good control. Good test.
Let me break out these other guys real quick. I'll let you decide. I have Storm, Racing Cars, Explosion, Forest, and Gunfire. What would you like me to sniff?
Gunfire. Gunpowder has a very specific smell.
So, like, obviously I got this for a video, but I don't really know how I'm going to convey, like, wow, it smells like gunfire! gunfire now. It's just kind of a weird. Okay, let's see.
Those are not good faces. If it smelled like gunfire, it would smell like gunfire.
Like,
what's it smell like?
I don't know. I don't think it really smells, because I've shot a gun before. I know like that like smoky kind of metallic scent.
Yeah, you know what gunpowder smells like.
It doesn't really smell like that. Let me try explosion. Maybe this will have more of
Maybe that's
scent.
gunpowder, yeah.
They smell exactly the same. Like exactly.
Gunfire is just lots of little explosions, so
Yeah. All right.
I guess it makes sense. Forest should at least smell like an air or like a car deodorizer.
Yeah. Let's see. Forest. Hold on. Hold on.
Does that just smell like clean air?
Yes. Okay, forest is like has a smidge of like pine, but they smell almost identical.
Wow. Maybe it needs to be atomized. Maybe it needs to be like dispersed for it to actually smell.
Yeah. Maybe.
Maybe it needs to like activate the particles and the accelerator.
Racing cars, you better just smell like gas.
Or burnt rubber. It looks like you have like a whiskey flight in front of you. That looks like bourbon.
It smells... Why does it smell like that?
It smells like Lightning McQueen's asshole.
Or Lightning McQueen's pussy. It kind of smells like fish. It's weird. I don't know. It has like a fishy smell. It smells like fish. Why does
Fuck
it smell
Lightning
like that?
McQueen right in his kachussi.
Storm? Okay, I could.
What does is storm like that petrichor smell? Like the smell right before rain, or is it just like wet forest?
Yeah, it's kind of like that smell right before rain. All right. Well,
mine should be arriving Friday.
Oh,
So
hell yeah, baby!
I'll be able to like smell and compare as well.
This is what it looks like.
It looks like a Roman candle, like a firework thing.
Yeah.
Where you just light the fuse and then it just goes doom, doom.
Let me get this bad boy open. Because I want to see. I want to see what it's like when you actually take her apart. What's it like inside? Okay.
It's just like a 5-part fleshlight. The Knights of the Round Table.
All right, beautifully crafted here. So if we can take off the top.
Oh, that does look like fleshlights for micro penises.
And then, so you put the whole bottle in, and then this is the little spritzer.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wait, does it actually have to smell the thing, or can you activate one of them by choice?
I don't know. I straight up have no idea.
This thing sucks.
It's very interesting.
You could probably just get the same thing where you put the stuff into like a spray bottle and just go. Gunpowder.
It's literally just like a what's it called? Like an essential oil atomizer thing.
It's a Scentsy.
That's all it is. That's all it is. So we'll see if it actually works. I am waiting for human excretion to come. So that'll be good. That? Yeah, they do.
Why would they do that? You should get stink bomb. Just a stink bomb smell and stick it into that.
God damn, I could just ruin my house.
Spencer comes in like sprints out of the room.
I mean, if I were smarter and knew how to like do coding and stuff, I could just make my own custom scents and then be like, okay, if I'm entering into Yarnum, just smell
Yeah.
release
You could also
piss, shit, and dead bodies.
commit eco-terrorism like Mark Rober and his glitter bombs.
Oh,
And just
yeah.
assault like mailman. Ding dong. Haha, now you smell like shit, bitch.
That'd be sick.
It's like, oh, so you don't want your massage oil, okay, from Amazon?
Man, I'm not super impressed with these smells because I would assume that just smelling the bottle would be the most intense.
It should be
version.
like a really concentrated version of it. So what's the fucking point?
I don't know.
Do we need to do a class action lawsuit on this?
I think we do. I think we do. What do you think spice smells like?
It's supposed to be like cinnamon. Oh. It says so in the book that it tastes and smells like cinnamon. Which is nice.
Wow.
I like that. Yeah, no wonder people are addicted to it. What if
Yeah, and you see the future in your eyes.
what if
turn blue.
meth tasted like bubble gum? You could probably make
Yeah.
meth taste like bubble gum if you wanted to, actually.
Probably.
I don't know how a meth is made.
I want to know how they do the eyes in Dune. Because, you know, like you can you can have contacts that make your irises different colors. But do they make contacts that cover your whole eyeball?
I don't know.
I would think that would be spooky.
I would imagine it's just post-processing.
Yeah.
I mean, all the things they do in that movie, I don't think that that's the most crazy thing. To just make someone's eyes slightly bluer.
How did they get their eyes blue in Dune? No, I know it's a side effect of consuming spice. I want to know how the effect is done.
No, they're like, no, that's how they did it. They gave them LSD in real life.
Okay, so yeah. Some of them were used. They were achieved by the use of fluorescent-coated blue-tinted contact lenses, custom fit to each one of the principal actors.
Damn, I didn't realize it was like a physical thing, like practical.
Interesting. Huh. That's really cool.
Yeah, who knows why their fucking eyes turn blue? You do enough LSD, anything will happen.
Have you seen the was it 1984 Dune?
No.
I want to watch it now. I think it would be really cheesy and probably really bad.
Just get high and watch it.
I could. I did
And get yourself
see
some
a little
spice-flavored snacks.
I did see a little clip from it where it's the Baron and he's laughing and he's just floating around the room like spinning around. It's so funny.
Have you seen what their shields look like?
No.
I
did think it was so cool in the movie when he's going to do his battle and he's like, "Oh, you're not drugged up? All right. I'll take off my little shield pack thing."
Oh yeah.
It's like, hell yeah, dude. That's a real gamer right there. Speed and stuff and insane. What did you think about, I can't remember his name. What's his face? Why can I not remember his actual name? The actor's name. Drax.
Dave Bautista?
Yeah. What did you think about his character's death? Because I saw a bunch of people sort of complaining, being like, oh, it was so quick.
Nah, I love that.
I kind of liked that it was really quick.
Yeah, you expect like these long drawn out deaths, but the whole movie shows that he's kind of a coward. That
Yeah.
like he bombed that place and then went down onto the sand, and then when he thought Muad'Dib was coming, he like ran away from it, and then when he came at the end, he ran away again. It just shows that he's a coward.
Mm-hmm. I like.
And Gurney Halleck, I think it just does a disservice to the movie because they didn't show how incredible a fighter he is. That of course he was going to kill that guy if he ever came across him.
Yeah. What is his name? Do you remember?
Raban?
Sure.
Wait. Who's
Dave Bautista's character?
Oh yeah, Raban.
Yeah. I thought it was cool. I liked
Anyway,
his death.
I sent you a picture of what their shields look like in the 1980s movie. Where they just put literal like opaque blocks over them, and as they're fighting, it looks really weird. It looks like wireframe models.
Why would that be the effect?
I don't know.
So bad. What do you even like? Does it just look like Minecraft characters hitting each other?
Yep, it's really weird. The perspective on them shifts. It's like the Photoshop warp tool sometimes where it just goes in and out. It's really bad. It's kind of funky, but I really like the shields in the new movie because the whole point is that you're not supposed to be able to see it.
He looks like the TARS robot from Interstellar.
See you later, Coop.
God. So bad. That's so awful.
Yeah, that movie, I think that's why I can't watch it because I'm like, I love Dune. I love the book. I can't watch this version of it.
I want to see how long that movie is. Because if it's like 1984, if it's super long, it's just like, no, I can't.
It is 2 hours and 17 minutes.
Oh, you found that out way faster. 2 hours, 17
I just
minutes.
Googled Dune 1984 runtime.
It's right on the border. It's right on the border. I didn't feel like Dune Part 2 was too long either. Like, it's a long movie, but...
Yeah, 247.
It didn't drag ever. There wasn't really a part of the movie that I didn't like, or like a section of the film that I didn't like.
Yeah.
I was fully enthralled.
I think that's a credit to what changes they made, because some of the changes are like, I kind of missed that from the book, but it's also like, yeah, but if you do that, then you have to do this, this, and this, and it just drags everything down. I did think, maybe because I read the book and like the whole start of the movie, I was a little like antsy, because I knew what was coming, so the whole start of the movie, I'm like, because that middle part of the first book, like all the Fremen stuff and book 2 as it's known, I wasn't a huge fan of. Like, I found myself kind of like drifting away from it every now and then, like losing focus and not being able to keep up with it as much. But then the last third of the book had me enthralled again. I don't know, there was something about Paul like learning the Fremen ways that just wasn't clicking with me hugely in the book. So maybe it was the same in the movie for me.
Do you like Timothée Chalamet as Paul? Like, do you think he portrays him well?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think there's probably somebody out there that could do it better, but it could also be way, way, way worse. I think he did great. I think he's a good... Because they talk about him being hawk-like, like his dad. Like, he has like a very strong face, and you can kind of like sense something about him immediately. And Timothée Chalamet has that face where if you look at him, you get like a vibe.
He's got that bicycle seat face.
I mean, plenty of people probably want to sit on his face, so...
Yeah, overall, I thought it was... I know that we've been talking about it basically this entire podcast, but I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was just like, man, this really makes me want to go to the movies, baby.
Yeah, I am really glad it exists, and I want to see... Because Denis... I'm worried about Denis, because he says he has 4 other movies that he's making now. He has like 3 that he's said what they are, and then a secret one. But I'm like, dude, please don't overwork yourself and get burnt out and then start making crap.
Shit. Yeah.
I don't think he's capable of that. I think all the other, like, if he's able to pull this off, he's able to do anything. But he's going to be in high demand.
It made me want to be a part of movies, whether it's like acting or being behind the camera or anything. It's just like, man, being a part of a production like that must be so incredible and so fulfilling. And just like, man, you're making this giant thing, and it takes so many people, and it's like you were saying, like everyone on their A game. Like, there wasn't a single part of that movie that I was like, well, the soundtrack was lacking, or the costume design was lacking, or like everything felt so dialed in.
It felt like they really knew what they wanted. But
yeah.
I always wonder about movies like that, what the editors feel like. I know it goes through a bunch of passes and the director's there most of the time telling them what to do. But like, when you're editing a movie, it must be so weird. Like, you get YouTube footage and it's like, yeah, you get like the preamble and then like, oh, for the start of this video, can we do this? Like, I can't imagine what it's like to just be like, and action, like scene, whatever. And then it's just like people just hanging around and they'd be like, okay, action. And it's like without all the special effects and everything, it just kind of looks goofy.
Yeah, it must be so daunting.
When everything like coalesces and you're like, this whole movie's pacing rests on my shoulders. Like, it's one thing to be an editor, but to be like a blockbuster editor, I think is probably one of the scariest jobs out there.
Yeah, because I know that there's like multiple sides of the editing where there's like assistant editors, which their job is to sort of just like take all of the footage and organize everything. And then I know that
whoever does that job,
just...
I don't know how. Do you sleep?
Yeah, right. It's so.
Or do you sleep upside down in the dark, suckling on the blood of children? Because it feels like no human could do this job.
It's unbelievable. Like, there's people where it's just like, yeah, I just like go through and just like make proxies for all of the footage, so it's able to be edited because the footage is so high quality. Just like, goddamn. I really love the color grading in the film. Yeah. Like especially the first the opening scene. It's very orange and very like sunsetty. But I think it really brings you back into the desert planet.
But also like all those guys in the black outfits going one by one up the mountain in a line. It's like really punchy and vibrant and contrasted. It's cool.
God, I don't know where they filmed everything, but it must have...
Ireland.
Oh yeah,
that's what Ireland looks like.
Oh, sick! I didn't realize that.
Yeah, if you
cool.
the more south you go, you hit like the desert.
It's Dublin. It's downtown Dublin.
Dublin after a Friday night. It's a barren wasteland.
It must be horrific for every department to film in the desert. Yeah. Like one, the actors have all the costumes on. The still suits are probably like wetsuit kind of material. So you're just fucking sweating in that thing and just like making a little soup out of yourself. And then, you know, it's hot as balls. And then like camera must be awful because one, you have to lug around a heavy camera, but two, like the cameras and the lenses and everything are so expensive and everything is probably just covered in sand and dust and like, oh my God.
Yeah, imagine having like every time you go to film something, you have to have that like that little like to like blow the sand out of the lens to be like, do we have a clear shot?
Yeah. God.
Meanwhile, they're like, no, obviously we just do this and avoid all of those headaches. And we're like, we don't make movies.
And then like the environments that they're shooting in, like, I mean, I'm sure they have trucks and stuff like that, but you probably have to lug a bunch of stuff on foot as well, where it's so much equipment and it's so...
Yeah. Turns out it's all just, well, they use brown screens for this movie.
Yep.
So they probably just have like a whole bunch of sand in a lot and it's all covered in brown screen. And we're like, oh man, that's not as cool as I thought it was. Movie making.
I think that like it is cool. I don't know if they did much, if any, but like volumetric capture and stuff like they do on Mandalorian and stuff like that. I don't think that they've done that for this
didn't
movie.
Look like it.
No. And I love that. I love when it's like, no, we're gonna go out and do this like sort of correctly, like traditionally. That's why I love The Revenant so much.
And have you noticed that in all of the build up to the movie, I mean, maybe they've said it somewhere or some production company was talking about it, but no one was hyping up like there's no CG in this movie. Or it's like, we went out on location and shot it practically. They were just like, yeah, we made a good movie and we used all the tricks that movies use to get that done.
I love that shit.
It's like, it doesn't really matter. You just get the shit done to the best of your abilities, and then when everyone's on the same page and the sound team are like, got it, music, got it, cinematographer, got it. Like, everybody just knows what they're supposed to be doing. And then it comes out and it's flawless, and then it does numbers at the box office, and everyone's like, this is cinema. I want to see...
The gimmick is we made a good movie.
Yeah, and we did it traditionally.
That is... I didn't really think about that until you said it at the beginning of the episode. I think, like, this is such a good movie because it brings, like, normal people to the theater to see this, where, like, Dune is very convoluted and it's very confusing and there's so much shit and it's like, this shit's really good. It's
there's so many... There's so many like
going after
publisher houses out there where they're like, because reading Brandon Sanderson stuff, I was like, I want to watch more fantasy stuff. And outside of Lord of the Rings, there's really not a whole lot. There's like Narnia and Hunger Games and Maze Runner, but all of those are like the young adult kind of stuff that I'm not really into.
Yeah.
I'm like, where's all this fantasy stuff? And it's like, they don't make it because they don't think anyone's going to watch it. And it's the same with sci-fi is a little different. People watch sci-fi a bit more, but something like this, where it doesn't have like, it doesn't dumb shit down for the audience like most movies do. It's a pretty convoluted world. They don't like talk about it overly at all. Like there's some stuff, if you've read the book and then you're watching the movie, you're like, oh, that's that thing. That's really cool. Like in the first movie, I noticed there's like a little disc on their neck and they touch it and then talk. Yeah. And the audience is just like, they communicate with that. There's no thing explaining it.
Yeah. It doesn't make the audience feel stupid.
Yeah.
Because it's
I want to talk about that because we talked about Madam Web last week. Dakota Johnson had a article come out. Did you see it?
No.
She talked about how she's fully on board saying, like, I can see why people think that this movie's awful and I'm never making that mistake again. And she said that art is never made by committees, that all of these movies, it's like artists having to work through a committee to get their say on stuff. Yeah. And I don't know if you can ever say that Madam Web. I was going to say Adam Webb.
Adam Webb.
That's her brother. She was saying basically, like, if you want to make art, you leave it to the artists and then trust their vision. And I think that's exactly what Dune is. Mm-hmm. That I'm sure some companies tried to come in and Warner Brothers were probably like, do this, that, and the other to it. But she was basically like, yeah, the movie fucking sucks. I'm not doing that again. And if you want to make art, you make it on a smaller scale. You don't have these like big wig committees coming in trying to control the whole thing. So it's cool to see her be aware of it. Especially as, isn't she a Nepo baby?
She is a Nepo baby.
So it's cool to just see her like talk sort of harshly towards that stuff. I have a bit of respect for anybody that kind of like says like the higher ups are bullshit in this scenario, because we all know it. It's the same in game development when it's like, this game sucks. Warner Brothers put out Suicide Squad and then we're like, oh, it didn't meet our expectations, but we're going to double down on live service games and really think that's the like bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off.
Yeah.
Fucking idiots.
I like that. Good job, Dakota Johnson.
Yeah.
Good job.
And I think
God, is it a funny movie.
I think it's the same with Godzilla -1, because the guy who directed it is an ex-VFX guy. So some of the shots he did on his own, because he was like, let's keep the budget down. I'll do some of the shots so we don't hire like a massive VFX team. Mm-hmm. He knew exactly what he wanted. He was able to storyboard out everything through VFX himself first. And then with the VFX team, he knew exactly what was capable because he had that brain. So then when he was filming stuff, he was like, this is going to make it really easy for the VFX team to do it. Well, not easy, but like he knew how to shoot things for them.
Yeah.
And it's the same with
be his own visual effects supervisor.
Yeah. So it keeps costs low. He gets everything done really quick. And it was the same with Gareth Edwards, who did The Creator. He did a video with the Corridor crew recently talking about how the movie was made. And he was like, the reason I was able to shoot it on this tiny camera was because I was just like, let's just go here and do it. And I filmed like B-roll of people in like paddy fields in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. And then we just turned those people into robots. Like no one on set had tracking dots. No one had like a morph suit on. Nobody had green screen suits on. It was just like, that's Ken Watanabe. And he went to ILM and he was like, can we take half of his head off and make him a robot if we don't have any tracking dots or anything on him? They were like, we can do that. So then everyone just got to be as they are. So it's like, you know what you want. You storyboard it out. You know the shots you want. Mm-hmm. And then everything gets so much easier and quicker and leaner and the budget gets smaller. I like that. It's like guerrilla warfare of cinema making.
Guerrilla warfare.
Guerrilla warfare against studio executives.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be like the next generation of filmmakers are going to be doing more shit like that because movie budgets are way too big and inflated and crap.
It does give me hope against AI stuff where it's like, you know, you can tell that so much heart and soul was put into Dune Part 2.
That's what Dakota Johnson said at the end of the paragraph I saw. She was I think it was her that said like people want to make stuff with AI, but humans can sense bullshit. And she was talking about how smart audiences are. She's like, the publishers don't really give them, or the studios don't really give them enough credit for how smart they are, which I think most people agree on these days. She's like, you're trying to shovel out AI bullshit against them. There's no fucking way they'll stand for that and watch that crap.
Yeah.
I'm like, Dakota Johnson's okay.
Yeah. No, I like this movie sets such a high standard for like, man, like this is what going to a movie should be like. It's fucking
so much so that it makes me want to like go watch it again. I rarely go to watch movies twice.
Yeah.
And these are what gets people to come back. And like even with like Oppenheimer and Barbie, that like little rivalry that was going on, it could have so easily been that both movies were shit, or like one was really good and the other was all right. But both were great, and it's cool that both were kind of like making each other more popular.
I know it's, still the beginning of 2024, so we'll have a long time before this happens, but I definitely think that this could be... I think that this will get nominated for Best Picture, honestly.
I hope so. At least Best VFX and Cinematography. Mm-hmm. And sound design, actually. Again, I'm such a elitist when it comes to good audio, but I don't think people realize how much good audio is making the experience incredible. What it is.
Yeah.
And so even so many companies these days, you have Dolby Atmos, and it's such a unique, advanced system, but so many studios aren't using it properly. They're just still like, oh, stuff will come out left and right. Like, we don't move stuff around or anything. It's like really lazy and sloppy mixing. Because it's like, for most movies, you don't need much more than that. But this, I feel like the sound design in this movie is a massive middle finger to Chris Nolan, who's like, 5.1 is like good enough, and it's fine for what I'm trying to tell. And I'm like, you're telling me you can't do more with that kind of like complete enveloping soundscape to make you feel like you're in the world? Imagine if Interstellar had Atmos.
Yeah. Be fucking awesome.
Yeah, the whole point is that you're supposed to feel things above you.
Do you think, would Rebecca Ferguson be considered a supporting or leading actress?
I think she's supporting. I think Zendaya is probably the lead.
Yeah. I think that she should get an Oscar for her performance.
Yeah.
So good.
I think... So I don't know what they designated. I don't fucking know how the Oscars work. At the end of the day, they don't matter, really. I think a nomination is as good as a win if I were in their shoes.
I saw a post of somebody's Letterboxd, and it was 1, 2, 3, Dune Part 2, 1, number 2, Night Swim, number 3, Madam Web, and it was just, yeah, it's that good. So
have you seen Night Swim?
No, I heard it was terrible.
Oh, it fucking sucks. Like Evelyn and I, well, she has less standards when it comes to horror, because she's like, if a movie has like 1 or 2 like cool little bits in it, it's good. Because she just likes horror so much, and I'm my standards are a bit higher, where I'm like, to a fault of me and not her, where I'm like, I don't really want to watch that because it looks fucking terrible, where she's like, come on, it'll be fun. And then we both watched Night Swim, we were like, that sucked. There was like almost no redeeming qualities in that. It makes no sense. Because you saw the trailer and it was like, how do you make a swimming pool scary? And then you watch the movie and it's like, you didn't. you don't know what the fuck to do with this. I'm like, it's so unique and you could have done something so cool.
I kind of want to watch it, but I also don't. I don't know. I'd rather just watch Dune 2 again.
Yeah. I'd say if you have friends over and you want like something shit to watch, or like something stupid to put on in the background if you're doing something else.
Yeah. I was pumped, and I would recommend this to anybody who hasn't seen Dune 2. I watched Dune 1 the night before as a little refresher.
Yeah, we watched it like 4 days before.
Mm-hmm. It does a good job though of like, I don't think if I had not watched Dune 1, I wouldn't have been confused. Going into Dune 2, like it does a good job of, it doesn't just like shove you right back in immediately.
Yeah, I would say if your friends are all going, or like you really want to see it now, I almost think, I mean, for the sake of like, I was going to say, I would say you can go see 2 without 1, but I want to rephrase and say you shouldn't just see 2.
Yeah.
Like, you should see both movies, but I think you can see Dune 2 if your friends are like, we're going tomorrow, and you're like, oh shit, I don't have time to like watch the first one if you haven't seen it. I think you'll be a little lost. Actually, you'll be very lost, but I think it is possible. But I don't want to say that and then have people be like, that's a stupid thing to do. But you definitely have to watch the first one.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'll make no sense.
In the first one, is it ever established? Because going to the second, I was like, wait, I just watched the first. I don't remember that. It's never established that Jessica's pregnant, is it?
Yeah. When Paul is in the tent and he gets like...
Oh, that's right.
And he's like, I know that you're pregnant. I see visions. And
that's right. And then I was excited because in the first Dune, I was like, there's a lot of like weird, almost sexual tension between Paul and his mom.
Dude, I felt that reading the book at one point. Like when they're like changing their suits to the still suits after that, there's like a scene where I'm like, this is weird.
There wasn't as much sexual tension in the second movie, so I was pumped. I actually noticed hardly none, I don't think.
Yeah, because I think there's a point, and I could be really wrong. I also remember there being sexual tension, or like, I was like a little uncomfortable about it, because it doesn't shy away from shit like that. Like, Baron Harkonnen in the book is a pedophile. And I'm like, probably good that you cut that out of the movie.
Yeah.
Because it just doesn't fit. But for the book, it's like, yeah, he's the most vile man of all time. So it's like the book doesn't shy away from like weird shit. So that's really weird to just say like pedophilia is weird shit. You know what I mean? Pedophilia is awful. I condemn it completely and wholeheartedly. But I mean, it goes to like the darkest depths. So like a son and mother having sexual tension is not the weirdest thing in Dune.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking there was a point where she said that he looked a lot like her husband, or like, not her husband because they're not married, but looked like his father. And I was like, hold on there a minute. You mean like he's handsome like his dad, like I'm proud of him, right? Not like
not
be
like
my baby
you're
daddy.
attracted to your own son.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'm still bummed. The only thing that I wish, there's two things I wish that were still in the two movies. In Dune 1, I wish the dinner scene was still in it. I completely understand why it's not, because it has to introduce, like, there's so many more people on Arrakis, or like come to Arrakis more frequently, like the other great houses. So it's like a dinner with heads of different places. And I'm like, I get why you cut it, because you have to explain all of this then, and it makes Dune seem less isolated and weird on its own. But I love that dinner scene so much in the book that I'm like, it's a shame that it's not in it, because there's so much tension in it. I think it would have been really cool to see it. If there's ever like a Dune TV show, it fits in, because it's kind of like Game of Thrones-y.
Does everyone, because in the movie, Zendaya is like, the Fremen call this planet Dune. Like in our language, it's called Dune. But no one else calls it Dune. They all call it Arrakis. In the book, do other people call it Dune?
Yeah, it's mentioned. Oh. Like the Baron calls it my Dune at one point. Or maybe that's just in the movie. But yeah, it's not like oh, they name dropped the name of the movie in it. Like also, they do call it that.
It is so fucking cool, and it's one of those things where it's like, how do you do that, especially in a limited amount of time? How they hired a linguist to create the Fremen language, and then they all the actors had to actually like go to, what is the language called? I can't remember.
I actually don't know what the language is called. Fremlish.
Fremlish. They all had to like go and learn how to speak it and speak it like naturally, and so they had a dialect coach on set for the fake language, being like, oh, you pronounce that incorrectly. It's like the depths that they go.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's so cool, and it's just like, wow, that's incredible. How do you make a language from scratch like that? It's so sick. Like I was listening to an interview, and when Zendaya's like, she calls Javier Bardem's character insane, because they're like It's when they give her the water of life or whatever.
Yeah.
Denis Villeneuve. How do you pronounce his last name?
Villeneuve.
He was saying that what she like the subtitle is "You're insane," but what she's actually saying is "You're eating sand." And it's just
so they have like idioms.
Yeah.
And like phrases. That's cool.
Yeah. It's so cool.
Like you're so crazy you're eating sand.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. It's so sick. Ugh. It's so cool. I'm going to really try and read this book.
Anyway, second thing that I'm sad they didn't put in is in the second movie is Princess is Aaliyah being born, Anya Taylor-Joy's character. Because I was like, she's really cool in the book. And I was like, I want to see how you do this. But again, it's one of those things where I'm like, I totally understand why you didn't do this. Because you would end up with Renesmee, where it's like, that's never going to look good, no matter what you do.
It was very like Death Stranding, some of the shots where I was just like, oh, little baby in there.
I kind of wish...
Crazy eye.
Nothing against Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's a great actress. I wish they got someone who had a much different voice. Because there's times when it's like her talking to the baby and it's like, is that Jessica talking or the baby talking? Like their voices are so similar when like whispered like that it was kind of hard to be like, are we hearing the baby at all? Is it just the mom speaking?
Can you imagine if mothers could talk to babies in the womb?
I think they should.
That'd be nuts. If it was,
I think you should be talking to your baby all the time, and your baby comes out, and it's like, "Yo, where the bottle at?
Yo, where
the titty at? Let me suckle on those nippies." You're like, "Whoa."
Well,
anyway,
I will report back next episode if I've actually cracked into this. Again, I have a flight tomorrow, so I'm gonna try and get past the first 100
The
pages.
secret to reading for me is to at least try and read a chapter every night before bed. Or at least one chapter a day. Usually you end up reading more than that, but if you can stick to that, then it's like, it'll take you longer to get through the book, but it's still very manageable. Like, there's no time limit on it. You're not trying to race against anything. The movie's already out, so you're not like trying to read it before the movie's out.
687 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, if some of it like hits you the way it hit me, you'll be like so enthralled that you're like, oh, I gotta fucking read this chapter.
Yeah.
But again, there's no pressure on anybody out there. It's hard to get into reading, and you really have to find the stuff that works for me. And Dune is what actually got me back into reading, because his writing style really like connected with me for some reason. All the like, there's a lot of internal thoughts in the book that's not in the movie at all. Like, people talk to themselves a lot in their heads. And maybe it's something about that I really like. I like dialogue in books. I think that's why some books that's like over-explaining about the environment and what things look like. And I'm like, I've already made up my mind what this thing looks like in my head. So everything you're saying, I'm not paying attention to.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
I'm like,
no, don't tell me how it looks.
Oh, it's a castle. Okay, then in my mind, it just looks like this castle that I've imagined in my brain that I probably saw in Berserk or something. And then they're like, it had like 2 steeples and yellow stripes on the front, and it had a moat out the front. I'm like, I don't care.
Not the way I do it.
It's the Disney castle in my brain, and that's it. You can't tell me otherwise.
Yeah, you can't.
We're storming the Disney moat.
Sorry.
Anyway,
well,
go
everyone,
watch Dune.
Yeah, go watch it. It's fantastic. Go see it in theaters. Don't. This is one of those movies where it's like, don't wait for it to come out on streaming.
And for the love of God, don't watch it on a phone. If you're watching it on a phone,
do not watch it on a phone. God damn it, don't do that. If you can go and see it in theaters, absolutely go and see it in theaters.
Yeah, and if you're interested in the book, definitely read it, because it's way crazier than the movie is, and it's so much more in depth.
So crazy. It's literally crazy.
Paul Atreides literally Gwydion on top of a Shai-Hulud. Anyway, thanks for watching and listening, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Finally!